Oh!
Can I get an encore? Do you want more? Cook and roll with the Brooklyn boys. So for one last time, I need y'all to roll. Yeah. Now what the hell are you waiting for? After me, there should be no more. So for one last time, nigga, make some noise. Get him, Jay. Yeah. Thank you. Far too kind. Yeah, ready? Can I get an encore? Do you want more? Cook and roll with the Brooklyn boys. So for one last time, I need y'all to roll. Yeah. Now what the hell are you waiting for? After me, there should be no more. So for one last time, nigga, make some noise. Get him, Jay. You know fresher than whole. Riddle me that. The rest of y'all know where I'm living.
Yo, what's up? Oh, man. Woo! Tommy, what's up, killer? Yo, I could always count on Tommy Pace to come on live. All right, listen up, everybody. Welcome to another episode of, come on, y'all know it, right? DOE edition. No running in the halls with your host, Chavez. So the first thing I want to address for those of you who are prompt and on time, we have don't forget the line. Nice. So I have a birthday to celebrate today, and it's legit. Ignore. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining. First thing I want to do is pay homage, and I am paying homage today to Fifth Hammer Brewery. We are affiliates of these beautiful, beautiful beer makers, beer creators. They are wonderful, man. They are located in Long Island City. Man, if you want a well crafted beer, something you've never tasted in your entire life, I highly suggest it. Oh, man, what a day it was, man. It was a day of real progression. I got to tell you, I had to take off. I wasn't feeling well. Unfortunately, it's funny. Not last year, the year of COVID. Um, I'm talking 2020. I got sick around my birthday. I was put into a situation, right? So I'm a teacher. Obviously, everybody knows that. I was put into a situation where I um, I was asked to go home and teach, and I did. But I got sick on that very day. I got sick on the day they said go home and teach remote. And the crazy part about that is I had no idea I had COVID. I really did not have any idea. I just felt really shitty. And it was in the embryonic stages of thank you, Jode. Appreciate that. Thank you. I was celebrating all day in my crippled manner. My back was killing me all day. Um, so yeah, I got sick on that Friday, and any of the teachers that know the scheduling, we were asked to leave on a Friday, which was like the 19th, and I got sick that night. And I was better by like Tuesday, right? I was better by Tuesday, and that was my birthday. So I didn't really have a great birthday in 2020 because of this whole debauchery of viruses that plagued our world. But I do remember that I was better by the time that I was physically better. Thank you, Jaylene. Appreciate that. Tell Jaylene I miss her and I love her. So yeah, I got past it. It wasn't the greatest birthday, obviously, because we 2 years, 2 plus 3 years, we had to deal with a crazy thing that happened in our lifetime, and that still go down in history books for sure. So anyway, so yeah, if you haven't guessed it, today is my birthday, and thanks, Jody Schwartz. You're the best. Get Birdie on here. Text that little motherfucker to get him on here. Say, Birdman, get on here. Anyway, so No Running in the Halls, episode 4. We have our show today called Rules versus real rules. Rules versus real rules. I bet you're all wondering what that means. Well, I can tell you firsthand, from first perspective experience. So when you're at any job, right? You're like asked to do certain things, and you're asked to cooperate in certain areas, and sometimes you don't agree with them. And your happy birthday, Luzani. Oh my God. Thank you so much, girls. I love the fuck out of you, man. Thanks for joining in. Listen, feel free to chime in if something rings your bell a little bit. We're talking about rules versus real rules in the workplace. So, as I move forward talking about this, I want to say that look, at the end of the day, you know, I'm not here to rattle. I'm not here to rattle anybody. I'm not here to make big waves. What I'm here is to make swimmable waves, if you ask me. And I just want to say that you have belief systems in your own virtues, your own values, and how you were raised, and whatever it is. But I have to say that there's certain situations that most people don't like to bend or break on, and if they do, they've done it out of satisfaction for themselves. They did it to please somebody else, and sometimes that's not always the answer. I mean, there's other ways to deal with these situations. Like I said, um, you can approach situations in many different avenues in many different directions. But the real way is to do your research, find out what you're actually able to do. Thank you, James. Wow, look at these people jumping on. Guys, I appreciate that so much. Thank you, Lancy boy. I love you, brother. Um, so going back, look, at the end of the day, we want to be happy and we want to be content, feel comfortable doing what we do. In the past, I have been vocal about things that I didn't agree with, and I think I presented it in such a fashion that I made sure that I had everything I needed to defend and approach the situation. I really take pride in that. I don't know. Tommy says unspoken rules. Yeah, I think really in basic arithmetic, that's really what it is. It's unspoken rules, or rules that you're asked to abide by, or they're like requests. But I don't necessarily always think that a request for something is it doesn't have the viability as it does as the real rules, right? So in my title of today's show, it's real rules versus rules. So in the workplace, wherever you work, whomever you work for, specifically if there is something that is designed for you from the very beginning that you have to adhere to, then yes, you're signing up for that. You're well aware of all of those things. It's predetermined. It's one of those things that that if I don't do these things, there's a chance that I could either be penalized for it. Some places write you up, or some places, they make a big deal about it, right? So, in today's episode, I wanted to talk about that because there are so many things in this world today, even not in general, and we're not even talking about past versus present. We are talking about the now. It has nothing to do with what was once. It has nothing to do with what it could be. It's what's now, and what people have in their corner is the right to say, hey, you're wrong, and let me explain to you why. And I don't have to abide by this, and this is why. And I think people have that power. I won't even say privilege now. I'll say power to go ahead and say, okay, listen, I don't really look. At the end of the day, we have to make very, very, very concise decisions about the next chess move we make in life. And I think in the workplace, you do have to do the same thing. You have to calculate your moves and say the right things, and be the person who will be listened to, not ignored and looked over. You want people. You're not going to make a grievance or a suggestion or a note to somebody so that it falls on deaf ears. You want to say what you have to say. And I think that's important, especially in today's age, because your delivery system, as I said time and time again, your delivery system on what you say is very important. And in this episode of Rules versus Real Rules, you may not agree with all the rules that are in place for you. And you also might not agree with all of the rules that are asked of you, or simple requests, right? But by simple requests, it seems simple to somebody, but it might not be simple to others. And that's what I think this show is primarily about. Again, we're not here to poke fun, bash, or get angry. We are here to discuss, and I want for us to discuss, where do you stand on the situation? Do you stand up for what you believe in and say, hey, listen, man, I come here to do a specific job, and my job is very important, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a sanitation worker, whether you're a police officer, whether you're a fireman. All of our jobs are important, and all of our jobs are necessary. And I think that what comes with that is a certain level of comfort for us to be able to do our jobs. Because, if you ask me, I could count on more than 5 sets of hands, and that's two hands in each set. How many people will forever discuss this outside of a platform such as this, but will will be easy. It'll be easy for them to talk about it when they're not being heard. But I think the key is to be heard. And I think that's where I stand on this particular issue. And it might not always be a favorable thing to talk about, but at least someone's talking about it, right? So, with that said, I want to first address the fact that I love what I do. I love teaching. I love being a part of the growth and progression of young children, young minds. I get a really big kick out of it, only because I feel like I've been places in my life where I can offer firsthand experiences, and I think that's important when it comes to teaching. If you grew up in a bubble and you don't have the outside world to help you um, connect real life incidences with your teaching, I don't think you should be a teacher. To be honest with you, I mean, if you're going to teach out of a textbook, we can also talk about how wrong most textbooks are and how they give false information to begin with. But that's a whole other story. That's a whole other story. So let's get on a fun track. So we got about 9:13. I have a really, really great guest coming on tonight. Um, Not only is it my birthday and I'm celebrating wearing a blow up crown, as you have seen, I I was able to grab a special guest today. My guest is a really smart dude. Not only is he smart and educated, but unbeknownst to the both of us, we kind of were integrated friends in the process of growing in our neighborhood. I grew up in College Point, and back in the day, College Point was crazy awesome. I had a blast growing up in College Point. It wasn't always like that, but then they had we grew up early. Tommy Pace is on here, and he's a dedicated fan. He grew up there also, but he grew up. Tommy, you grew up in our guests part of the neighborhood. You guys grew up on the PS 29 Bleecker side. I grew up on the 129 194 side, and we discussed this in so many different shows. It always comes up, but the one thing I want to pinpoint about my guest tonight is that, short of being a tenured, valued, important infrastructure of education in his building, and if not more, he is someone you can look to ask questions and get information that is unbeknownst or unclear to you. And I love that about these teachers that put themselves in this position. I value the gentlemen at my job that do that. And I tell you, I can't begin to tell you how many times I want to go up and say something, but I don't, um, because I don't want to bother them with too much craziness. But I do seek their opinions and their factual information on a lot of things, and I'm really happy to have them on board. Shout out to A Colette, right, and JP. I know he's not on here. I wish he was though. A Colette, we got to get him on here. Where is A Colette tonight, man? I thought he would join up. Anyway, moving back over, I'm getting off track. My guest tonight is not only a family man, he is a beautiful human being who from the looks of how I interpret it, he's raising a beautiful family. I value the things that I speak with to him on matters that we had a really great conversation not too long ago, and it was my first injection of this podcast idea. Oh, Gary, he's calling right now. How about that? He's a little early, but let's get it going. Hello, hello.
Yo, what's up, Jay?
Oh my God, guys, please welcome to the show. If you're all out there listening, let's welcome Gary Malone, everyone. Everyone, give a little round of applause for Gary Malone. Gary Malone is not only prompt but early. And you know what they say about when you're on time, you're probably late. Isn't that right, Gary?
Well, that's definitely me. I don't like to use the word trigger, but the idea of being late is something that triggers me. I'm usually at work like a good 30, 40 minutes early every day. I need to be in and settle before the kids come in.
Yo.
I mean, I had my days walking in right before the bell. You know, my own kids are teenagers now, so I don't need to drop them off at school in the morning. But in the days when I did have to do that, and then trying to scramble from I live in Nassau County now, so trying to scramble into Flushing and find parking.
Oh, dude, it's the worst.
Flushing. Right. So I went through those days of walking in at 7:55 with the 8 o'clock bell. But when I don't have to do that, I'm much better off.
It's funny. A little small piece of info is Gary and I do not work far from each other, both in Queens, and I'll see Gary parking, and he'll park pretty far. I mean, I wouldn't say far. I'd say in the very least, it's about three blocks, 4 blocks away. And we crashed into each other one day. Not crashed figuratively, literally, but more figuratively. And I hear this guy going, Chavez, and I see he's parked and he's just walking. And I'm like, hey, man, what you doing? He's like, hey, I'm putting in some steps, man. I thought that was cool. And he's right, man. He's not lying to anyone out there. This guy, he gets to work early and he's there and he's ready to go, all cylinders in gear,
Yeah. So before anything else, again, I know I see you have your crown on. So happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Facebook told me it was your birthday today. So
that's what's good. That's what's good about Facebook. You don't have to tell anybody. You just, and it's funny, before I even move forward, I guess since it's already 9, you've got people winding down. I just want to say, and this includes anybody on. Thank you to everybody for your birthday wishes. Usually people thank everyone on their own Facebook, but I'll put it on blast, and everybody has this is evidence. Everybody sees it. Thank you, everyone, for your birthday wishes. It was a lot more than usual, so really thank you. And Gary, thank you for your birthday wishes. So Gary, I wanted to tell everybody. I was telling everybody. I don't know if you were listening while you were calling in. I was telling everybody how knowledgeable you are, and how every time I speak to you, it's not only very comforting, and it's always a very cool conversation. It is so very relaxed with you, and I never feel like you're impeding on something I was asking you. You're always very open minded and gives great suggestions, and you're a lot like the people who do what you do in my school, and it makes it so comforting, because I've been a part of team team helpfulness, if we can say, that I wasn't always so comfortable approaching, only because I just don't think it was I don't know if it was a vibe, or maybe it was a discomfort, or maybe the way the person delivered or received your information. But nowadays I always feel comfortable, and I give a lot of thanks to you and those who do that, um, to help the people in their building, and to steer them in the right directions. What can you say about stuff like that, and what can you say about how teachers could approach, or how you could even receive or approach a teacher's just a request to speak? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something, partially comes with experience. This is my 22nd year now as a teacher, and I've been a chapter leader. I think it's going on 12 years now. So,
Nice.
for me, that's just sort of like, I guess, second nature in terms of, there's new teachers coming to the building, and as chapter leader, it's my responsibility to sort of like seek them out and make sure that they have what they need, to the best of my ability. But I think, just, remembering being a new teacher myself, and remembering who the teachers were that sort of like helped me out and sort of, showed me the ropes a little bit. I think that's sort of part of the responsibility. Like, I guess it would be in any job, if you're there for a little bit, somebody new comes in, to try to, knowing how difficult it is, especially teaching, to come in and be brand new. I think it's important for the rest of the staff to sort of support those new teachers and sort of be there for them, even if it's just for basic information. People might not even know where, like who to ask if they have a payroll question, or
Right.
where where the auditorium is. When they're first starting out. So yeah, it's definitely part of the role. I think it should be of all of us, really.
Yeah, I gotta say, you mentioned such light stuff as just finding a room, and it's funny whenever I see somebody new, even if it's a substitute or maybe somebody who's on a leave replacement, I'm always so quick to help, and I don't know how that looks to people. Like, I don't know if people just think I'm being a certain way, but I initially I see a new person, I'm trying to help them, and being the age that I guess I could happily say our age, right? Because Gary and I are very
Yeah,
close
I
in
mean,
age.
I have a few years on you, I think. Yeah, you're a little bit younger than me, but
Yeah,
yeah, in our age, in our demographic.
in our Gen X generation,
Right.
I think I've learned a lot growing, and one of the things I've really taken very well to is just being helpful. I'm okay with that. I don't think it's a horrible thing to want to help someone. I don't think everyone has to have an ulterior motive to helping someone. I never ask anything in return. I'm just like, listen, if I could help you, but I use that in every aspect of life.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
that should also be part of it. I mean, if you're in education, obviously helping people is sort of like, you're not in it for the money and the fame, right? So,
I mean, who is?
that would be, yeah, I think that's a big part of it. That's sort of why you get into it. You do this job because you think it's important.
Yeah.
Like why else would you do it? Because for people on the outside, who don't know, a lot of people think, hey, you know what, you're off in the summer, and you're home or you get out of work at 3 o'clock and this and that. But unless you're a teacher, or you're married to a teacher, and I'm both of those things. Or you're very close to teachers, and you kind of know like all the extra hours, the extra unpaid hours
Yeah.
that go in after the job. You don't really have a full understanding of what it is, and I know that's true with other jobs too. Like I have
Yeah.
friends, guys I grew up with who became cops, or guys who were firemen, or sanitation workers, or plumbers, or whatever else, and I can't pretend to know what their day in and day out is.
And we will never will. We never will.
Right.
So, Gary, let's get into the thick of it a little bit. I appreciate all of the notes and the inside info that you gave us so far. It really is. It's a tough job, and again, I'll tailspin off of what Gary said, that all jobs, and we can't pretend to know what they go through, and the calls or the people that chime in on platforms like this help us know these things. But everyone's job is hard, and I think for teachers, there's definitely a little misconception every now and again about, hey, you guys only work 180 days or 182 or whatever, 180 something days. You guys get out at 2:35. Hopefully, if you have the right leader. And hey guys, I just want to say hello to everyone. It's still a hard job. We're molding. We're engaging. We're taking pieces of things that aren't fitting exactly into the slots and molding them to be the right kind of human being that I think education should be doing is molding minds and creating adults for the world. But we all have every job is hard. Every job is hard. But with the job, there also comes this comfort level, of being at your job. And I actually had this conversation today, Gary. I want to say I got to tell you this. This can kick off our conversation. I was actually taking an exam, and I have to tell you, it was a nightmare. This is another show, but it was a nightmare. And when I was in there, I was speaking to some nursing student, and she was saying how they're always like throwing little rules at them, like, hey, do this, do that, do this, do that. And at the end of the day, there are things you're asked to do, and then there are things that you have to adhere to. And I think that's what our show is about today. And I have my own stories, but I definitely know that people who know me know that I'm not somebody that always I'm playing a different chess piece than you. My game is a little different, and I can go on and on and on about it. But I wanted to talk about what we think about these things. We could be asked to do things, right? And I think it's important that we listen and try to abide. But not everything is black and white. We have our own ways, and in today's world, we have established a defense system for things that maybe we don't always agree with. Can you speak a little bit on that, Gary, at all?
Well, I mean, if you're talking about things that people might be asked to do that they don't necessarily have to do. So we'll say, for example, if you're asked to do something, like not a coverage, but asked to, like, say, attend a meeting or something during your prep time, right? And someone might say, like, most people, I think, would sort of just, like, not wanting to say no, not wanting to look like, hey, I don't want to be a team player, or I don't want to, I don't want to like mess something up by me saying no, I need my prep time. But our prep time is valuable, and our prep time is something that was not just given to us, but was something that was fought and negotiated for.
Right.
And it's valuable. It's valuable to have that time, because I think most of us, or all of us, probably know that one prep period that you get during the day is not remotely close to enough time to do all the work that it takes to do your job.
Yeah.
Really, like the time that I'm in my classroom with my kids, that's like the easiest part of the job. It's all the prep work that goes in there before that. It's like if you go to a concert, or you go to like a Broadway show, and you see all this, you see this performance, and you see these, theatrics and pyrotechnics and whatever else going on, like that takes place in that hour or 2 hours that you're seeing it. There was, all this other preparation that went in behind it. It's
For
sort
sure.
of like I've seen that image before where they show the iceberg and you only see the tip of the iceberg slipping above the water,
Yeah.
but you don't see all the other things like underneath it.
Right.
So, sort of getting back to that idea about giving up your prep time, like that's something that I think, on an occasion, if it's something very important, then okay, look, I'm not going to nickel and dime someone every single time. If this is like an emergency situation or something that I think is really valuable, then okay. But you also can't like set the precedent that time is not yours to be used for the things that you need to do for your job. Because, when it comes down to it, if, let's say you're in school and it's 2:00 and your day ends at 2:30, but you have an emergency and you have to leave. You punch out, and those 30 minutes come directly out of your car time.
Yeah.
Right. So every minute that you leave, if you leave early, every minute is taken from you. Right.
Correct.
So then it has to be, sort of, that has to be a give and take there. Then, if it's like, well, this time that I have during the day, if this is my prep time that I have, to get my work done, to grade papers, to plan lessons, to contact parents, whatever it is I'm doing during that time, to meet with colleagues. maybe I can't go meet with someone this period to talk about, iReady data, or to go even, sit in and watch somebody else's class to like give
Right.
feedback on something.
Yeah.
So, our time is valuable. And I think, like you say about there being rules, the things
Mm.
that you have to do, and then things that, are more negotiable, things that are more gray areas.
I agree. I agree. There definitely is areas of negotiation. I don't know if everyone really sees it that way. I know that you and I mean, I could agree completely 100% that there are some, I don't want to call them gray areas because usually gray is looked at as something that's negative, but there are some lighted silver linings to some situations where you can really kind of object to, but with they always say proceed with caution, right? You don't know what could come of um your uninvited request to speak on a matter that maybe was not the favorable thing to talk about. Now I've thought about that so much in the past, and I always thought, hey, I think if you have something on your mind, I think regardless of what any human being thinks in any work environment, I would like to think that a supervisor, manager, uh, CEO, owner, whatever it is, somebody who's above you, I would think that if you went with concerns, that they would be concerns that other people would actually be, they would be actually happy that you came to them, because it's quite possible maybe they didn't even know, and that's possible. I mean,
Yeah.
not every leader has the answer, correct? I mean, am I wrong on
I
that?
mean, I think that's something that just sort of that applies to like any relationship, any situation where
Yeah,
if there's something that you feel needs to be said, you should say it.
yeah,
I mean, that's the way that's the way I always am. I mean, my wife will tell you, my friends will tell you, my mother, anybody. If there's something that bothers me, like I'm not the kind of person to let it in and to keep it in and not say something. And I was always that way, in any job I had. And, as a teacher, even before I became chapter leader, which was kind of the reason that I guess I ended up sort of inheriting that job, is where, if there's something that I think is, something's crooked that needs to be made straight, I'm gonna say something about it. But also, there's also a difference between like, well, I'm just gonna complain about everything, versus, like I'm trying to help like manage what the solution is going to be. You know, trying to, obviously be respectful of the people that you work with, the people
yeah,
that you work for, the people that supervise you, and respecting like their situation, right? Because they're under different pressures than we're under,
yeah,
and they have different, guidelines that they have to follow, and different like benchmarks that they have to hit. And, so what they're looking for and what we're looking for, not always the exact same thing. I mean, ultimately, we should all want the same thing, which is for our school to be a better place, for our
right,
kids to do better. But we don't always necessarily agree on what makes that happen. But
yeah,
I think if you have something to say, and it's constructive and it's important, then you should be saying it and not just relying on like one or two people. Because I don't know what it's like in your school, but like if you have a staff meeting, and there's an issue, maybe a little bit of tension going on, and you have like two or three people from your school that might say something, and everybody else who might say it on the side or in the background, but like won't sort of vocalize that in public or in like a group setting. And then it makes it look like, yeah, we got a couple of squeaky wheels and everybody else is fine. You know what I mean? Where if more people were speaking out and more people were sharing their opinions, you would see, there's more power in that, right? There's more power in numbers. So that's
yeah,
that's another thing I think is
for
important.
sure, for sure. And I think everything you just said was so integral in this conversation, because you don't look, at the end of the day, you don't want to seem like the guy who's complaining, or the person, right? I call it the doers and the chewers, right? I don't want to say that I just made that up now, because I didn't. But the doers do things, and the chewers, you never hear that term, chewing the fat. They, all you do is talk. Like, you could just talk about it, right? You could talk and talk and talk and be that guy or person, or anybody. You could be that person that just simply talks about it. You don't do anything more than chew the next person's ear off about it. Or you can do something. You can say, hey, listen, I have this, and I don't want to always use the word grievance, but I want to say, if you have a concern or a question or a situation that needs to be determined or answered, I think that those are the doers, because at least you got your answer, or at least you received some kind of communication on the matter. I think that's super important. And I think that, with all due respect to any administrators, chapter leaders, anyone who's in a position where they have those answers and they can really help you out, I think that's what should take place. I think that if there's something that needs to be said, if there's something that needs to be grieved, if there's something that needs to be adjusted, the matter should come up. And whether or not it is agreed upon, we're not even talking about that part of the ball game. That ball game comes later on. But to get your foot in the door, Gary, I got to tell you, I know a lot of people that they they're scared. They get very, very apprehensive about communicating, and a lot of it is I want to say, Gary, if I'm wrong, please help me. But a lot of it, I want to say, is fear. I want to say it's fear of shaking the cage, or rattling bones, or making waves, as they say. Like, I don't know. I just feel like
Yeah, I mean,
that.
there's definitely a lot of that. I mean, and I'm sure that's probably true in a lot of other jobs, but I can only really speak on the one that well, not the only one I've done, but one of the many I've done. The one I've been doing, the one I've done my career,
Yeah.
for 20 plus years. But no, that's definitely, I think, a pretty common thing where people are worried to rock the boat, or if I say this, then admin is going to look negatively on me.
What's the consequences, right?
Right, and I think people worrying about, and I've had conversations, like that, like with principals in the past, like I had a former principal who would like be offended by the idea that people like wouldn't approach her about things, and I said, you have to understand, it's not you, it's the position. Like, some people just think like it's, well, I can't I can't bring this complaint or even this question or this issue to the principal, because I don't want that to reflect badly on me or make it look like I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, somehow I'm against them, and it's just, I think it's just the way a lot of people are. And I don't know if that comes from, past experience. I mean, I know some teachers who, they graduated high school, went to college, and became a teacher at 21 or 22. And that's their experience. Maybe they didn't have another job experience where maybe your relationship with a supervisor or a boss was different. So I don't know. I mean, I think people in general are just different. There's people who are comfortable, not just in a work setting, but in any setting, people that are comfortable saying, "Hey, look, I don't like the way this is," or "I think this needs to change," or even a question, "What could we do about this?"
Yeah.
And then there's other people who kind of don't really want to address those things. Don't really want to get into those conversations.
Yeah.
I think it's just human nature.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I think, it's also how you're raised too. I mean, like, the boss is the boss, and you have to listen to and adhere and abide by all bosses' rules. I mean, don't get me wrong, and I love how this conversation is going, because it really is, to me, as a listener and as a person who's discussing it at the same time. I really feel like this is so informative for people, because I really don't think anybody should ever feel that they can't approach their boss. I really don't think that people should feel apprehensive about bringing up things that they either want to make change to, or improve. I definitely, in the past, I've been apprehensive about vocalizing certain things, just because, I mean, there's a laundry list of reasons, of course, but mainly just because I'm not sure if I would have been heard correctly. And maybe there's levels of like respect. Oh, well, if this person suggests something, it is it important enough to listen to? Do I take this person's critique or advice, knowing that, in the I guess the grand juncture of things, that I am the employee and you are the employer, boss, or whatever. But at this time, Gary, I think our conversation has been amazing thus far. I was wondering if anybody on the live could chime in and maybe just express something at their job where they were like, hey, listen, I didn't really totally agree with this, and I approached it, and this happened. I mean, we're talking about the life of a teacher, which I think this platform is really dedicated to. But like I said in the past on previous shows, chime in wherever you work. Is there moments where you're like, well, you know what? I don't necessarily think that I have to do this. I don't necessarily think that it's right that I'm asked to do this. Maybe I can investigate and see where I land, because inevitably the answer to it is everything. You're either going to get the answer that you want to hear, or you're going to get the answer that you weren't expecting and didn't want to hear. And unfortunately, maybe you'll have to adhere to the rules, because there are real rules, and then there are other kinds of rules, like the ones that you're asked to abide by. But nah, you don't really. I don't know. You don't really have to. Um, so if there is anybody out there that has an experience, please chime in. But Gary, I wanted to ask you another question, a little off topic, but kind of on topic. I wanted to ask you, what is your feeling? Because I bother my guys all the time. I just want to chat with them all the time, and it's not just about UFT stuff and grievances, or first perspective complaining, but I do have normal conversations with them, and I really have a good relationship with them. What would you say your relationship is with your teacher body, and uh, how do you take on situations? You're a hardworking teacher, probably 25 periods a day. You're exhausted, you're tired, you just went through a class that maybe was having a shit show of a day. What is your take on your position, and how do you deal with an everyday role as someone who is really you're the advisor of a lot of people? How do you feel about that?
I mean, as far as like my relationship with the staff at my school, I mean that's sort of like, there's a variety of what that is, what that could be. You know what I mean? There's people that are on staff that are some of my best friends, people that I've been hanging out with for 20 years.
20 years.
With,
That's when we first got more acquainted. Was those ground round days?
Right, exactly. The ground round days, right?
Northern Boulevard.
My first couple of years, I was sort of like out of that crew. For the most part, I was sort of like the first one in. Like when I started, and then there was like maybe like a year and a half later, there was this big influx that happened where when Bloomberg became mayor.
Oh no, I heard about those years.
Well, in the beginning, so when Bloomberg became mayor, what he did is he said, if we want to bring math and ELA scores up, we need to increase how much math and ELA these kids take. So when I first started, like my first 2 years, I taught 5 periods a day, 5 different classes ELA. And then when Bloomberg switched it up, then it became ELA and math became 8 periods a week.
Yeah.
So I would teach 3 classes for 8 periods, and maybe one class would have a 9th period. But because of that, they had to hire a whole bunch of new teachers. So suddenly you have all these new, and at the same time, my school, like almost the whole science department retired. It was like this group of like old guys, and they all retired at the same time. And suddenly we had like 3 new math teachers and 4 new English teachers and 4 new science teachers. And it was mostly younger people, like in our 20s, and and at that time, it's so with those people, I sort of like, still, like I said, most of those people are still there and still close. And again, people that have been, who've been there when my kids were born, and kids were in my wedding and at my wedding, and vice versa, like those kind of things. And then there's people that, are newer that I might not know as well. And then, everybody's different. Some people teach it themselves a little bit. I mean, I feel like I talk to everybody, at least to some level. And, there's always going to be 1 or 2 people that you kind of don't want to talk to, So it's sort of.
I feel that way a lot. I feel that way a lot.
It kind of runs the whole gamut, you know. I think I got lost on the question about my relationship with the people on staff and being an advisor.
No, Gary, you're doing great, man. That was honestly, I think, some really, really awesome information that you didn't really get off topic. Then that's what these conversations are. Sometimes we're gonna run down a different avenue. But yes, the real question was, how do you feel about your relationship, your role in the school? Like I said, I approach my guys all the time, and I certainly hope they don't think I'm this big annoying piece of crap that goes up to them.
Yeah,
but
I mean, you know what? I don't really get a whole lot of people come to me, to like a lot of times some newer people might come and ask me a question, and again, I've been around for a while, so there's some stuff that I know, and there's other stuff I don't know. So like, if anybody asks me a question, it's always either, okay, I can tell you this information, or like, let me reach out to district rep. You should reach out to central, and I'll find the person for you to contact. Like, someone's talking about they want to take like a certain type of leave. How can I take a leave? All right, well, let me find out who to talk to and give them that person's contact.
Yeah.
Or sometimes people, especially new people, like they'll come to me with a question that's really a question like to the payroll secretary. So, trying to direct people, to the people that can help them if I'm not the one who can do it.
Yeah. I'm the first one to say that, I don't have all the answers either. And I'm nowhere near the position that you are in, not just your years of teaching, but where you stand in the position of I want to say dependency for the body of the teachers in the school. So I'm nowhere near there, but I got to tell you, for someone that doesn't have the answers, sorry, that was paused for a little bit on Instagram. You might get a little pause on that. I apologize. My connection sucks, I guess, today. But yeah, I think, as much information as you can provide is all that anybody really asks. I don't think I've ever been in a situation or even been observed a situation where the UFT person didn't know something and the teacher was terribly upset about it or made a big stink about it. We're all human. We don't know everything, and sometimes we have to look up things, and that's okay. That's okay. But I just want to give a quick note. It's 9:47, and my Instagram will shut down in about I want to say maybe 11 minutes. So I want to get in as much as I can today. First off, I just want to thank everybody who joined for this birthday special with my first guest who was not a part of my own building. So thank you, Gary, for joining in advance if I haven't thanked you yet. And I want to thank everybody for joining. And again, don't be shy. Chime in anything that you ever feel like you have some kind of information or some kind of experience on. It really helps the conversation. But Gary, just let's try to wrap this up in a way where we could gracefully bow out today. As a person who's been teaching for so long, old man, you've been teaching for how many years? You said 22.
Yeah, this is year 22.
Man, God bless you, man. I'm struggling at 9.
Hey, if I was a sanitation worker, I'd be 2 years into retirement already.
Yes, you would. So, that's a whole.
That's a whole other show.
That's a whole other show, and
something I know you talked about rules, and I don't remember if this was a conversation I just had with you, like personal conversation, or if it was on a previous episode, or maybe both.
Yeah.
Something about you with wearing the hat in school.
Oh yeah. For the, would you like me to speak on it?
Please.
Oh man, this is an exciting story for me. I think I almost, I hate to say this, but I think I almost brag about this. So the story goes, this is the legend. This is the legend of Chavez. May my stories fill the gaps of all broken memories and lead us on to a higher level. But, for a long time, we're going to end this just on this note. A long time, I really respected all that was asked of me. I'm not good at a lot of things, but I certainly did respect a lot of what I was asked to do. I tried not to be a ball buster, but I enjoy wearing hats. I really do. Not, and there's more than one reason, right? There's more than one reason. Gary, thank you for bringing this up because I almost felt bad bringing this up, but thank you for asking me to tell the story. I'll make it quick and painless. So for years, I was always asked to take off my hat, and I said, "Hey, yes, I will take off my hat." And it was really just an interesting level of, all right, my boss asked me to take off my hat in the building. And then I started like asking myself, I'm like, why am I taking my hat off? What is this, 1940? I'm like, people remove their hats in a building or in a restaurant or in a place where people, where it was like a fancy type of atmosphere, a very upscale thing. So I I researched it and I looked into it. I even called my UFT leader, not the position that Gary's in, but the I guess the district or the district leader. Am I right saying that, Gary?
Yeah, that would be the district.
Right, the district.
Yeah.
I asked him. I sent a simple email. I said, listen, if I said to my principal, listen, no, thank you, I would respectfully decline removing my hat just because I really enjoy wearing my hat. I was, listen, don't get me wrong. Most people think I have cojones like a fucking metal suitcase, but I was a little nervous about approaching the situation because I didn't want to rattle cages and I didn't want to be that guy. But I really, some things you fight for in life. You would fight for your children, you would fight for your spouse. I fight for myself. I have neither of those two. I have a beautiful girlfriend who I love, but she's not my wife, and I would fight for her no matter what. But here's how it went down. I researched, I looked it up. I said, hey, listen, really, there's no reason why I can't wear my hat. I was approached about it one day, and I said, you know what? Can you lend me a minute of your ear? I gave my synopsis. I told that person about my research, and I said, listen, at the end of the day, I'm not here to engage you. I'm here to engage my students. This is the uniform that I choose to wear that makes that easy for me. I want to say that I respect what you're asking me, but this is also an old value that ended many, many decades ago. People don't remove their hats anymore when they enter a building. If this happens to have anything to do with my pedagogy, then yes, let's talk about that. But it really doesn't. Whether I wear a hat or not has no ruling or concern over how good or bad of a teacher I am. Realistically, this actually doesn't even make any sense to me. And I just want to say that the DOE does not hold us to a dress code. And if we were to ever bring this to a different level of politics or religion or whatever, this conversation would be ended. And I looked this person right in the eye and I said, I mean, can we just agree on that? And I just don't want to be asked to remove my hat because it's not it doesn't make me a better or worse teacher. It just makes me feel shitty for the rest of the day that I'm asked to do something that has nothing to do with teaching. And
it's funny. I was the other day just watching. It was an old episode of Sopranos came on.
mm-hmm.
Did you watch The Sopranos in its day? But,
I did.
There's an episode where Tony is with. It's been a while. I don't remember. I think the guy's name is Artie, who owns the restaurant. And they're in the restaurant, and there's a couple at the table, and the guy's wearing a baseball hat. And it's like this sort of like fancy restaurant. And Tony is like fuming that this guy has a hat on. And he goes over to him and he says, take off the hat. And the guy looks at him and he's like, we don't serve hot dogs here. We took the bleachers out 2 years ago. Take off the hat. And the guy, kind of like, gets intimidated by Tony, takes the hat off, and that's the end of it. But I think that's interesting because I think, I grew up the same way. It was like, you go to school, you don't wear a hat. And even like as a teacher, not in recent years, especially like once COVID happened, it was sort of like, I don't know, a lot of things went out the window.
Free reign.
Right. Things changed a lot. I mean, for good, I shouldn't say for good, but a lot of things, like a lot of rules I felt got laxed after that.
Yeah.
But like for me, outside of work, I'm a hat guy. I have a hat on right now. I'm a baseball hat guy because I don't want to comb my hair and stuff when I'm at work. But it's not something that like for me, that like I would maybe not like the hill that I would try to die on. Like I'm going to wear my hat to work. Though at the same time, I understand and I respect your position because the way you dress or what you wear or what you look like does not determine like how professional you are.
Yeah.
I mean, people listening don't know me, but like, I'm pretty sleeved out in terms of tattoos. I have this. My hair is not as big as it once was, but I don't look like what I guess people would picture, a middle school teacher looks like.
Not in the least. Not in the least.
Stereotypically, but an interesting story with the hat that happened with me. It's some years back. I'm guessing it's got to be like 7 or 8 years ago. I had like a student teacher from Queens College who was in observing my class, and he had been there once or twice. It might have been like his second or third time coming in, and he came in one day, like right before the kids came in, a few minutes, and he had a hat on, and I don't remember his name, but let's just say Brian. So Brian, you got to take the hat off, and he kind of like, I felt like I was talking to a 12-year-old. He kind of put his head down. He kind of like sulked a little bit. And I was like, Brian, you got to take the hat off. And he's like, oh, my hair's messed up. I'm like, and then I kind of looked at him. He took it off like reluctantly. And he's sitting in the back of the room with the hat off. And a few minutes into the period, I noticed then he has his cell phone out. And so I threw him out of the room. I just said, just get out, like in front of the class. And the kids loved it. The kids had a field day with it. But I sent him to the office, said, look, I guess whatever's happening here is not interesting enough for you. And he was just sort of like, I don't know, he just didn't seem to like comprehend like why like I wasn't happy.
Right.
And I'm just thinking like, all right, this, you're going into someone else's space, right? It's like if I go to someone's house and they have a rule in their house where like we don't wear shoes in the house, like I'm not taking a stand and I'm putting my shoes on, right?
There's so many comedic shows about taking off shoes in someone's house. That's hilarious.
Right. Or what is the movie, the one with Johnny Depp with taking the shoes off?
Oh, that's isn't that Blow? Is that Blow? Donnie Brasco.
Yeah, but that's always like when I think about the hat, right? Like I don't think I've ever had a big issue like with a student with the hat. But here's whatever 21-year-old guy like in the back of my room. And, for me, it's like this guy's gonna come be a teacher, and I don't know.
Yeah.
It wasn't, it's all like I say. It's all. I don't think there's a fine line with that. Like when you talk about dressing professionally, and what does that look like?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like. Shirt and tie, like somebody decided on that's the way that you should look. And if somebody wants to wear a shirt and tie every day, that's good. I mean, that's not me.
Speaking my language.
For me, I'm not that, I don't have a lot of reasons to wear a shirt. Like, it's not something I feel like I need to wear to work. And for me, shirts and ties are like weddings and funerals for the most part,
Oh, man. Another show, believe it or not. You mentioned like 4 shows of mine today.
There you go.
So listen, Gary, I don't mean to cut you off, but if I don't cut you off, this live will cut us both off. So I want to say,
I hear you.
First of all, thank you for everyone joining. Listen, it was a great birthday today. Having you on, Gary, was the best gift I could have. I want to tell you, unless my girls,
you have low standards, man.
No, dude, unless my girl got me this gift that she says will make me so happy right now, you're trumping it. Guys, I just want to say thank you to everybody. Gary, thank you for coming on and chiming in and talking about things. It means a lot to me, and I'm sure it means a lot to anybody who was on here listening. Guys, please, if you are not subscribed yet, please subscribe to my YouTube. I need followers. I need subscribers to go live so I don't have to do these calls. I could actually put people on right next to me. You could see them. Thank you, Tommy. Tommy says, thank you, Gary, for coming on. If you don't know who Gary is, man, you need to. He's a great guy. He's a good family man. He's one of the best people I know. One more shout out to him. Guys, catch me this Sunday for my next show on the other segment I have, which is This Is How You Know, 12 in the afternoon. I know it's a little early, but it's the best I could do when we talk about just fun stuff. But as for now, if you are a regular on this show, please see me on Thursdays at 9 p.m. for our next episode 5. I don't want to leak too much, but I just want to say it'll be another exciting show with another special guest who I have booked. So once again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't in the past, please do next time. I'm going to give this one. Gary, what do you say? Should we give this one an effective? What do you think?
I'm going to go old school. Let's just go satisfactory.
All right. Old school.
I don't know if you were around in those days.
I wasn't, but I heard a lot about it.
Yeah, just the pre Danielson days were just better than that. That's another topic.
The resident bully. That is another show. That's 5. Guys, just
There
note
you
it's been 5 episodes Gary mentioned today. But you know what? They're not hard to figure out, especially if you're a part of this DOE. So guys, thank you one more time. Y'all have a great night. See me this Sunday for my other segment. This is how you know, and then chime in next Thursday at 9 p.m. for another episode. That is episode 5 of No Running in the Halls, DOE edition. Everybody have a lovely night. Gary, once again, thank you for joining. Everybody have a great evening. Let me send us out with a song. Hold on, everybody. I still got 50 seconds. Here we go. Let's do this one right here. I love this one. This is my favorite. Here we go.
Wasting your talent, Randy.
Thank you, Tommy. We out.